Welcome to Adventures in Solitaire. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a supplement that was made by an individual for IronSworn, specifically on Drive-Thru RPG. When I had first started trying out IronSworn, it was actually after I had tried Starforged. I absolutely fell in love with the Starforged system. And when I went to IronSworn, the core book, I found that there had been a lot of changes to the system as far as like going from IronSworn to Starforged in a lot of good ways. There were some things that were changed I wasn't real happy with in regards to some equipment. I actually wanted to see more of that, not less of it. But and then of course IronSworn had another book. It had the Delve supplement, which was helpful, especially for delves. But that was it. And one of the other things that it had Lodestar, which is IronSworn's equivalent to Starforge's reference guide. And that reference guide was I can't do without it. It allows me to put the core book away and only reference that occasionally. But even the Lodestar didn't, in my opinion, really hold a candle to what Starforged had in its reference guide. So that kind of put me in this place where I really wanted to do fantasy. You know, if you've watched my channel a bit, you know that I do tend to prefer science fiction. But I do like fantasy. I absolutely enjoy fantasy. Most of my board games are fantasy. So it's not that I don't like it. I love it. It's just not my favorite. It's like choosing, do you want double chocolate or chocolate? You love them both. So I really wanted to play fantasy, and the distance that Starforged had put between itself and IronSworn was a bit too much for me. And I just had this sinking feeling of, man, I really want to get into this. Well, then I got into the itch.io dive. I dived into that and started seeing all this content that people have been putting out for both systems. And then I went to RPG Geek, Drive-Thru RPG to kind of take a look and see what was there for that maybe I didn't know about for IronSworn. Hopefully, maybe there was something else, there was something else, but it wasn't put out by Sean Tompkin. That was content that was put out by Eric Bright. Now, Eric Bright, and he's under Play Every Role, I believe, in Drive-Thru RPG, but you can also really easily find his works under IronSmith. And that's not only for IronSworn, but that's for Starforged as well. And if you feel like me, like you want a little bit more out of your IronSworn, like there's a gap now between it and Starforged. I was so thrilled at what his content was doing for IronSworn to bridge that gap that it literally allowed me to actually sit down and have a game of IronSworn, whereas before I could not get into it. I couldn't. Now I have, and I can. One of the products that he has is Expanded Oracles. Expanded Oracles is exactly what it says. It is a list of expanded oracles so that you can get a little bit more out of it, which, again, with the reference guide, that was something that I felt that was missing there. And what I have done is I've literally inserted his table of contents into my my Lodestar book that I printed out. Now I need to tab this on out so I can get to it quicker, but it's right here. And when you go and you roll, and you would be rolling your dice for your oracle, you're actually going to roll the action dice with it. On a 1 or a 2, then you're going to use the core IronSworn. On a 3 or a 4, you're going to use an additional bonus oracle for that same area. On a 5 or a 6, you're going to get yet another oracle table for that same area that you're rolling off of. So you actually get not an extra choice, but 2 extra choices for a total of 3 options on those oracles. Now, this is really important, especially if you are playing IronSworn a lot. Because you can consistently like, it's not that uncommon, even on some of these larger oracles, for you to re-roll like the same thing. Even in a single session, I've seen that happen, and that can be a little disconcerting. It can throw you off a little bit. So this definitely helps with that. But on the expanded oracles, they have action, theme, location, coastal waters location, location descriptor, quick settlement name generator, settlement trouble, character role, character disposition, character goal, character descriptor, random NPC conversation topics, which is new, plot information an NPC can give. Awesome, that's new. Ironlander names, elf names, giant names, Varu names, troll names, combat action, mystic backlash, major plot twist, and ask the oracle. So it has all of those systems there, and that may not be that compelling to you. So hang on, because that's not all. He has a ton of content on DriveThruRPG, and if that was it, this right here, that probably still wouldn't have been quite enough for me. But then the thing that really tipped it for me was when he added corruption and the darkness within. Now, that may not appeal to some. There is again even more content aside from this that the gentleman has produced. This one allowed me to do something that I've always wanted to do in a solo system, and it just never has really presented itself real well. And he just, for me, just really nailed what I wanted to do with my character. I'm going to get to that in just a second, but I'm stopping for a reason, and that is that his content that he puts out in the formatting, that is in the fonts he's using, the general layout. If you have put this in the IronSworn book, if I really tried and spent many hours trying to figure out what he did versus what Sean Tompkin did, I might have been able to figure that out. But it is so closely worded with the prose and the layout and the font and the graphics, all of it, that it feels as if it should have always been a part of that system. He does such a great job. It does not take me out of the source material. It honestly just drives me further into that source material. In particular, the corruption and darkness within takes a mechanic that, as it states, is already actually incorporated. There is a debility condition that you can get called corruption. And while that is nice in the core book, the core book just it's kind of almost nebulous on how that's handled. It does talk about a tiny bit, but this just takes it, and it really takes it to another level. So it talks about, first of all, the different ways that it might lead to corruption, right? Both in the core system and for the darkness within. It also talks about vices, values, and corrupting influences. And on the corrupting influences, now this is really cool. It gives you a list of influences you can have. Now, of course, I'm sure you could make your own, but I found these to be enough for me. That is a vampire, some sort of vampiric influence, some sort of demonic influence, a lich, gloom, chaos, essence of magic, and prophecy. So pretty much in almost anything that you can think of that might drive your character to some form of corruption. The book really does a good job of covering that. And it also has different evidences and different types of reactions to different types of corruption. So, like, if you get corrupted, you might develop a quirk, which, like, for example, only drinks from one horn, rolls iron stones in your hand all the time, never removes a helmet. Mandalorian, anybody? Only eats meat from their own personal kills. And it talks about what a typical NPC reaction might be to that quirk. But it has quirks, fears, compulsions, physical signs, supernatural signs if it gets that far. So, it covers a lot of different effects of that corruption. But that's not, that there, is cool, but that wouldn't have really driven me to it, except that it has a darkness within asset that also comes with a set of moves, which is really cool, and I really loved it. And before I go too much further, it goes in. If you've read IronSworn or Starforged, you know that Sean Tonkin took his time to explain everything in detail. And within the core manual itself, sometimes he will reiterate the same topic multiple times and discuss it in different ways, just to make sure it hits home. And that's not changing here with Eric Bright's work. He makes sure that you understand, have multiple different ways of looking at the situation, so that he, as an author, can meet you where you live with his material. He really does a great job with that. But let's get back to the darkness within assets and the moves. So you can gain this asset one of a few ways. You can either just gain it naturally. You can start with really weak. You can start where you're just in it. So there's different ways to have that, either during character creation or just as a natural mode of play. For my character, I wanted to have a sort of a magical corruption, maybe where I might actually end up becoming a lich myself, which having that character succumb to that madness and eventually, yeah, that just was a really cool idea, having to deal with this possibly this immense amount of power where that can turn on you. That was a really cool idea. But you have this darkness within path, and you define the darkness within you, what that is. You define the aspect that darkness holds power over. So that could be fire, it could be earth, it could be something on the spiritual plane, it could be magic, it could be any number of things. And basically, when you would encounter things that have that aspect, there is a drive within you to take advantage of it. So if I am seeking magic and powers, magic and magical tomes, and I came across a library, then, or knowledge, or specifically maybe even knowledge of magic, then I might have to try and resist my darkness within to do something with that. And then you have to define any weakness the darkness bestows upon you. And the book goes in great detail to help you. Like, if that sounds like a little loose for you, the book really does a good job of fine-tuning this, where I don't think it'll be a question no matter which direction you're taking with this. On the opposite side of the path card, and I actually have them split into two different cards for me, but you actually have what you would typically expect on a path card, which is your levels. And as you gain in levels, you get to add different things that you can do, different moves that you can make. It can change the way you handle normal moves in the game to give you a bit more of an advantage. And you just gradually grow in power to the different types of things you're able to do with the darkness within you. But as you play through the game, there will be different times where you have to roll against the darkness level. And this is triggered by the new moves in the supplement. So, for example, you can interrupt after rolling a move, but before resolving the outcome, choose one. Mark darkness, in other words, increase it, to change a weak hit to a strong hit. Or mark darkness twice to change a miss to a weak hit. Right? So that would increase your darkness level. And eventually you'll end up in a situation where you'll hit a setback. Something will happen to you narratively. Or possibly even physically. It describes the different types of setbacks that occur and why and how, again, as you might expect for IronSworn, as he does such a good job of matching there with the pros. But as you advance, you'll eventually advance to higher levels of darkness. And these numbers here, what they're doing is they're increasing the die rolls that you're making. So if you were to roll and you would make a move with your darkness within, then you would get to add your darkness level to that. So it allows you to do things your character would not normally be able to do. But there almost is always a chance that that's going to cause you to move the track up. If you end up in a situation where it's a tail end, however, then your character can die. It could, or become lost mentally, however you want to. Like my character, for example, that I would be playing would truly become a lich, and as much as I'd want to, have some sort of conscious power over that, I would imagine that I wouldn't. I would just become some sort of demonic entity of some kind. where I've just lost myself, lost who I really was. Of course, different people can look at liches differently, but that's how I would see it. And if you get here, there's still ways to bounce back. You can even there's even an option for swearing an iron vow to get yourself, kind of quest on an adventure to come back from the darkness, which is totally cool as well. I see this as kind of like the vampire who doesn't want to be a vampire. They sought after the power and realized what it had done to them, and now they're on a quest to undo it. And there's plenty of stories like that we have in literature, and this lets you play that out. There's so much nuance through the various moves and the way that it handles this darkness mechanic. I mean, even leading up to the darkness is a whole story that can happen, and your character doesn't even have to get there. They don't even have to get to the point where they even have these paths or these assets, and it will still handle corruption mechanics in a new and interesting way. It will also, in great detail, cover the different sources of darkness that we discussed earlier: the vampirism, the fire demon, the lich, the gloom, demons, realm of shadow, chaos, spirit of wrath, fate of time. It just really goes into these and gives you different ideas on what you could do to play with those. In addition, it comes with an entirely new character sheet, and like you had abilities before, you now have darkness, and it has its own little set of abilities, if you will, that can affect things. And it also has a darkness track down here for you as well. And the artwork on this is just gorgeous. And again, for me anyway, and you may disagree, it's entirely on brand with IronSworn. Everything just looks IronSworn to me. All right, so really just a great product. And as far as cost is concerned, for this product and for most of his products, especially those that aren't physical, they're choose your own price. So if you're in a situation where you're hurting for funds and you can't support the author, then you can grab that at no cost. However, and I'm about to list some of the other stuff he has on there too, because that's cool. I would highly suggest that you do support him. He has put so much work into these editions. And they'll definitely pay off. They'll definitely, I feel, especially if you're going after it because you want that thing in the game, it's going to pay for itself in the time that you get out of it. But he has other products, like he has complete reskins of the system for, or flavor packs, if you will. One's for African mythologies, another one's for Japanese mythologies, another for Norse, and another for South American mythologies. He also has additional content for new sites, assets, foes, vows, and milestones. He has tons of new content to add to IronSworn, and again, these are done in the same type of layout that we've and prose and wording that we've come to expect for IronSworn and Starforged. And yes, he has Starforged content. If you're interested, he does have a book that consolidates it all in one place. He also has, for some of them, physical print on demand. I think his newest Starforged, the last time I looked, it didn't. It may as of the time that this video is up. But when I had looked, it didn't. I'm really looking forward to that. I'd like to get my hands on that one. But anyway, I would absolutely recommend that you go check out his work. Again, it's get this up for the camera. It is IronSmith. Okay, and it's an entire line of products on Drive-Thru RPG. And definitely, if you would, go ahead and take a look at those. See if anything interests you. If you happen to have some spare pocket change, or you can pay the suggested price or more, I absolutely think he deserves it for all of the work that he put in to make that available for us. And I really wanted to draw some interest for those of you that were not aware. I'm sure a lot of you are. I think his work speaks for itself, especially when you take a look at it, and that's probably gotten around a lot. I'm probably way behind on this game. I'm probably way behind. But just in case I'm not, and for those few that were like me who weren't aware of his work, amazing, probably the best content that I've run across. I keep looking for other stuff, and I keep coming back to his work. So definitely recommend that. Go check him out. And as always, if you've listened this far or not, Thank you so very much for taking the time to watch, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.